Hi again. Um, getting very inspired here. I've made a couple of videos today, and I want to continue on with a somewhat complex topic that I've been thinking about for a while, and I've been discussing with a friend. Um, it's the issue of culture and indoctrination. Now, before I begin, uh, I'd like to say that I believe, and this ties in with the video, I believe it's very good and beneficial to us to learn foreign languages, to learn about other cultures, appreciate other cultures, travel, see as much as we can, and experience as much as we possibly can. Um, I'll probably give you a little bit of background about me first and try to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So I am Australian. I live in Australia. For the most part, I guess I'm an Australian citizen. I guess I behave in an Australian way, much less so than other people though. I was also, I've grown up with two cultures. My parents are of Italian descent, so I learned to speak Italian at home. We often have many Italian cultural practices that we employ. Um, so, visiting family and get-togethers and traditional food and speaking the language and so on and customs, all that. So I've grown up with that culture. I've had that there, and I've had the Australian culture with me also. So uh, I think it's a good thing that I've been exposed to two different cultures. Um, I think uh, it's a good opportunity to be able to compare cultures. If you know about another culture, you can sort of compare it and find out what you like, find out what you dislike. There's pros and cons. Um, and I've come to realize that most cultures, most people, let's say, are indoctrinated into their own culture, very much so, and have never really seen. So they're kind of living in a bubble, living in the matrix, I like to say, in the sense that they only know the world, only understand the world within their own culture and the way that they've been taught, the way they've been brought up, and they haven't really questioned that. So I guess I've kind of had a little bit of an interesting experience. I've been able to see two different cultures. Now that doesn't necessarily really work for everybody because um, I say that people who've grown up with one culture are stuck in their own culture, but I've met many people who are who are Australian and have Italian parents and are very much stuck in their own way of doing things, whether that's stuck in the Australian way of doing things or stuck in the old Italian way of doing things. So I think a lot of people are stuck in that culture and have not either, they haven't had the interest to look outside of that, to explore outside. So all these things, culture is obviously a code of conduct, it's a way of behaving, it's a way of interacting with other people, and there are rules which govern this code of conduct, things that, rules such as, every culture wants to have a set of rules to play by in order to interact with people without offending people, um, and that sort of thing, and getting through our day-to-day our day-to-day experiences with these rules. So it's probably good on the surface. The culture's there, the rules are there, in order to make things easier. However, and I'm rambling here because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to say, but so that's good. But every other culture has their way of looking at things. So I'm getting a bit annoyed with people who are stuck. I can't tolerate people who are stuck in their own culture as much as people who've seen other things and are willing to experience other things. And so many people hang on to their cultural, their ethnicity or their nationality so much. Is it really? Can you really be so proud about being born in a place. I mean, it's an event which you had no say over. You know, people are so proud of it as if it's some kind of an achievement, which it's not. So, of course, I'm not saying you should abandon your culture and think that it's totally stupid and disrespect it. Of course not. But you should be able to see the big picture. And learning foreign languages is part of this, I think, and traveling too. Learning foreign languages enables you to get inside the psyche and the mentality of that person who is speaking that language and that culture, and see that there is another way of doing things. You know, there's not just my way of doing things. And a lot of these people hang on to this sort of feeling, and I think people who learn foreign, I mean, these sorts of people generally don't learn foreign languages. Generally, some do, of course, for other reasons, maybe because they have to work in another country, or because they, usually for work reasons or survival reasons, but not so much because they're interested. And a lot of people are afraid. And I use the example of Australians are very patriotic or, nationalistic about their country, or, they consider their way to be the only way. Anything else they're not interested in. And again, that's a generalization, but it is true to some extent. So that has to be said. So these people don't often learn foreign languages. You're like, well, why do I need that for? What's the point in that? Just my culture is the best. And these people are happy, so there's no need to seek something else, to seek an alternative or better sort of life or whatever, because they're happy. With me, I've always been a little bit unhappy, so I've always been interested in looking for something else. So I guess that's probably why I'm interested in foreign languages and cultures and countries and so on, because it enables me to experience something different. Not that you believe everything or take everything on that other culture has either. But you got to have an open mind. So you got to see, well, over there they do things that way, over here we do it this way. That's fine, as long as you know that that's done. And the important thing to remember is there is no absolute truth or absolute right way of doing things in that sense, because every culture will teach this is their way of doing things, but there's no actual scientific proof for that. There's nothing to say, there's no factual evidence to say, yes, that's the way that this has to be done, and this leads to that, because not necessarily. It's just traditions, it's just rituals that people have passed down. It's dogmatic things that people have passed down through culture and religion also. I don't want to make this a political video, but I mean, religion and culture are tied in together for a lot of countries. But even not just religion, but culture itself, I think, is very dogmatic, because it teaches you this is the way of doing things, this is the truth about the world. It may not be the truth about the world at all, not in a scientific sense. It's true for that culture, it makes sense to that culture, but there are many different ways of conceptualizing the world. So I think it's interesting that people like me, the polyglots on YouTube probably as well, some of them, probably aren't as nationalistic as other people. This is a generalization. So there probably are people who are nationalistic that do learn foreign languages, or people who aren't nationalistic and still don't learn foreign languages. So it's a generalization. But for the most part, I think this rule applies, that people who are seeking something else, who are willing to look outside the square, willing to leave that nationalistic thinking, behind, those people will learn foreign languages, and those people will travel more, and those people will embrace other cultural habits and things like that. Because people think, oh, this is my way of doing things. What they do, that's silly, that's stupid. I'm not going to do it that way. That sort of thing. Oh, it's ridiculous. But really, no, it's no more stupid than what you do. If it's stupid, then your way is stupid too. So it's important to keep this in mind. I've wanted to talk about this for a while. I just haven't had the time, or didn't have the words, didn't know how I wanted to put it together, but I've finally done it, so that's good. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. It's a very complex topic, I'm aware. Does learning foreign languages and traveling open your mind? And what do you think about indoctrination? To what extent do we think? To what extent are we thinking freely and logically? And to what extent are we stuck and limited by our culture? So That's really what I wanted to get at. How is culture limiting? We talk about culture being a rich thing and an interesting thing, an important thing, but what is the negative side of culture? How can that impact on us and limit us in our life? So that's another side of the argument. So let me know what you guys think.